Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We got a special report for you tonight. We've heard some rumblings of important UFO information that's going to be coming out very soon, and we've also got the latest UFO videos tonight for you, including a special report from aviation historian Michael Schratt in regards to the German UFO phenomenon. So buckle up, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So let's start it off. What is going to happen at UFO Disclosure, the symposium? Apparently, there's going to be 4 new FLIR videos coming in from Navy testimony and evidence, actually video evidence. Apparently, from what we're hearing from sources inside, that this video or these 4 videos are going to be maybe even better than what the government gave us. What I like about this is that apparently the people who shot it, the pilots, we're going to hear from brand new Navy fighter pilots coming out with testimony along with the video. And the person who reached out to us earlier today works within the military, and he says that hopefully that we could collaborate with this information, and that's what we're going to do. We're really on top of the information, especially if it's coming in from the military. We'd like to see what these videos are all about. Right now, they're not releasing the videos, but hopefully we could get some more insight in regards to the evidence. I'm a little on the fence sometimes when people sit on the videos, but hey, if they're going to bring the pilots forward, then that's pretty good. It was a grade A FLIR video, apparently of 4 separate UFO encounters, and apparently all 4 videos have been vented and assessed by multiple third-party analysis. I'm hoping these UFO videos have some substance to them, but again, we're receiving the information and it's going to be apparently released here very shortly in May. So Brent, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the person that called, who's going to still remain anonymous, but he is still active in the military, give us an update on kind of what you're going to see. He says they're going to be a little bit better than you've seen with the recent FLIR drops from the United States government, what we've been seeing over the past 3 years or longer. They say that you're going to see maybe a Tic Tac that's performing maneuvers in the background, kind of jumping around in sequence like Fravor mentioned. This could be groundbreaking, but then again, they're saying it's not true smoking gun evidence like you would see a UFO land on the White House. But still, it's pretty curious that the pilots are going to be coming forward, and I think we're going to have early on access to these people, and we're going to get their insight right here at Third Phase, happening late May. This is going to be pretty exciting stuff when we get this new footage in. We're going to share it to you as soon as we get it.
That's right, Brent. And speaking of evidence, we've got the latest UFO videos just into Third Phase Moon. Guys, take a look at this, captured via webcam in Switzerland of what looks to be some kind of spacecraft. I'm not sure. Just take a look at this. So after the review of this video, we're showing you the close-ups, the original video. This is quite interesting as we're looking at this once again. Guys, if you're enjoying this episode, please give us a thumbs up and tell your friends. Third Phase of Moon's bringing the latest UFO videos right here. But look at this. It seems to light up the surface. The snow is lit up by this object. As it swoops down, and you can see a tail forming at the end of it. It's interesting. It undulates, and I like this. And then the spotlight hits, but I'm not seeing any kind of nav lights. Could it be some kind of drone coming in from a distance? it's just weird because of the trail behind it. Almost indicates that it was almost like a meteor coming in from the atmosphere. There's some distance to it, but as we're looking at it coming in from left to right here, and then the light hits, illuminating the surface. Brett, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, this one's pretty curious. I like it. Again, it seems pretty far off in the distance and kind of the middle of nowhere, which really, who'd be flying a drone at night off the beaten track with this, just basically a cam that's just stationary? We're tracking this object, and it seems to come in and swoop. And like you said, there is a tail behind it. Could that be fragments of a digital artifact? I'm not sure. We're looking at something that's curious. I don't see the normal lights a drone would produce.
That's right, Brent. It is pretty cool, and I'm glad we're receiving these videos from around the world. Now, let's get to this. This was interesting. It came in just moments ago. The infamous cube-shaped UFO makes an appearance in broad daylight over Mexico. Watch. So let's roll it again. We're going to get to Michael Schratt in just a moment with his German UFO hypothesis. But right now, we're looking at this. And guys, I want to get your thoughts. I love the broad daylight sightings here. It's silhouetted, but you can see that it's in a cube shape formation. Some people might say the Borg. Is there some kind of technology that is out there that we can't explain? Obviously, there is. Brent, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's curious. We've seen these kind of sightings before. I like that it's basically shows a cube floating up in the sky. Some people might say, could this be a kite? Well, it doesn't seem to be attached to any string, and it seems to be drifting on its own accord, kind of just undulating over the rooftops of the Mexico City. This is really good stuff. It's a good capture. It's unidentified.
That's right. That's why we're sharing it with you. Now, guys, I know people are a big fan of the new YouTube channel called Blue Room Media, and we're happy that Michael Schratt has been collaborating with us, helping to get the information out. Here's a sneak peek in one of his latest episodes in regards to the shocking East German UFO sightings. Watch this.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I have another special presentation ready for you today, and I want to go ahead and get right into the material here. Our first case date here is June 17th, 1952, Hasselbach, Germany. And we'll set up the scene here. Backstory is that there were two eyewitnesses for this particular case, and they were driving down the road on their motorcycle. So the father, the son, was in the sidecar of their motorcycle, and the primary witness's daughter saw this strange light off to the right hand, and they actually started walking up toward this clearing area where they saw two men that were standing not too far from what was described as being a quote-unquote warming pan or a frying pan. This is June 17th, 1952, Hasselbach, Germany. The craft was about 49 feet in diameter. Sources are MUFON Journal, November 1980, Hynek UFO Report 1977. Okay, so let's get back to the two men. There were two men that were sitting or crouching down near the craft like they were picking grass. One of them had this strange lighted bulb that was strapped to his chest that seemed to be flashing, and they were both wearing these kind of one-piece flight suits that were wrinkled, that looked like they came from the Mercury era. Something that was like a shiny, wrinkled spacesuit. That's what they were wearing. Now, eventually, these two men crawled up onto the rim of the disc and then popped up onto this, what you can see in this first pass illustration here, this black conning tower, cylindrical in shape. They disappeared inside this conning tower, and the conning tower then slid down to the mid portion of the craft and then went right through the mid portion to the bottom and lifted the craft off the ground. At this point, it started rotating and flames started coming out of these ports, and they just turned out to be a blur, and there was this ring of fire going around the craft. Now we'll continue through here and I'll give you some additional references here. Here is the New York's World News City, March 19th, 1983, and they have an interesting illustration here, but the two men that you see, they were not standing, they were crouching. And again, you can see this cylindrical conning tower coming up from the top. And then if you look around the outer circumference, there's two rows of cylindrical circular portholes rather than kind of these slots that you see here. So it says a close encounter from East Germany, and we'll continue on here with our presentation. Now here are the two witnesses. This is Oscar and Gabriella Linke, image credit UFO Weekly News. And so these are the individuals that actually saw this. It's incredible that we actually have photographs of these people, and we have the original sketch. And you can see their sketch here with the two men off to the side on the left, and then this strange, what was described as a warming pan, and then this strange cylindrical conning tower coming up. Now we'll continue forward here. We'll get some additional illustrations. Now, here's what the craft looked like as it rose off the ground. The whole thing started rotating, and then coming out from these double row of circular portholes was this glowing ring of flames. Just incredible, incredible, interesting sighting for sure. Now, this is the original affidavit that was signed by the primary eyewitness. This is Oscar Linke, part of the sworn affidavit signed by Oscar Linke before a judge in West Berlin on July 1st, 1952. So we've got some good paperwork to back this up. We really do. And we've got newspaper articles as well. I'm going to show you that too. Here is the actual CIA report that you can get. So we've got the newspaper clipping, we've got the affidavit, we've got the CIA report, and this is published 9 July 1952. And they go into this case in great detail. So this is something to further lend credibility to the case. So then of course I went and started digging, and I thought, well, what newspaper clippings can I come up with? Here's the Times Tribune, July 2nd, 1952, and they go into this case in great detail. And I just want to read the bottom section here. Now, this is Gabriella. This is her statement here. His 11-year-old daughter confirmed the story in detail. Quote, "I was so terrified, I did not know what to do," she said. So, two eyewitnesses, credible eyewitnesses. Let's continue. What else do we have to back this up with? Additional information here. Here's one. Says he saw it take off. West is checking refugee story about flying saucer. The Charlotte Observer, July 2nd, 1952. So at least two newspaper clippings to back this up. Now, I could have added more, but I felt two was sufficient for this particular case. Now, I have a world exclusive for you, ladies and gentlemen. Another world exclusive, and this is from my good friend Rudy Gardea. We recently completed this, and this is the first time this has ever been seen. So we got a world exclusive for you here, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next drawing, and here we go. This is it. So just think of this cylindrical craft with a conning tower, and then these double row of portholes with exhaust coming out of them. And then this top conning tower disappears into the craft, reappears on the bottom. It lifts the whole thing up. Then the craft takes off, starts rotating, flames come out, and then what was on the bottom now retracts up through the mid portion of the craft and then is seen back on the top again as this thing flies away. So really good case, and thanks for Rudy for the fantastic drawing, and we're preserving an important part of our national history. All right, let's continue now. This is the one that we talked about before, but I've got another world exclusive for you here. This is June 1st, 1967, Richmond, Virginia. And here is another drawing by Rudy Gardia. Got to give him credit for making these cases come alive. Okay, so backstory, and we already talked about this one before, but 7-year-old boy was the primary eyewitness, and he was playing with his hatchet. He was actually chopping some young trees, and he heard this crackling noise kind of over his shoulder. He looks over and he sees this interesting 13-foot diameter dish-shaped craft that he stated looked like a hubcap. It was the size of a Volkswagen, about 13 feet in diameter. So it's breaking through the tree branches and limbs at a 90-degree angle to the ground. And when it gets about 10 feet off the ground, this thing flips up and is now, all 4 landing gear legs are pointing up toward the sky. With a little bit after that, it makes a 180 flip, and now the landing gear are pointing down. It sits on the ground, and he's about 10 feet away from this thing. Can you imagine what this thing looked like? Now, if you look closely, you can see these bug-eye pop-out headlights that came out of the craft. One was red and one was green. And somehow this thing flashed at the boy, and he felt this horrible pain in his back. And he was like shocked about what was going on here. Now, next thing is, somehow this thing actually shocked him, and there was this popping noise, and this lever on the top went from the right to the left. He heard this popping noise, and then he felt this shock on his body. He dropped the hatchet, he fell to the ground. Then this craft tipped up on one of the legs, spun around. It sounds crazy, but it's in the report. It spun around about 3 times and then started rising up vertically. At that point, he had enough strength to run back into the house that you see in the left background here. His aunt saw the craft. So there were at least 2 eyewitnesses that saw the craft, and his mother rushed him to a nearby auto transmission station and stated that my son has been shocked by a flying saucer, was her exact word. So June 1st, 1967, interesting case and paperwork to back it up. Let's continue. Now, this is an interesting case. December 8th, 1967, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Reference for this is QFOS archives and NICAP. So I had to dig them out of there to get this particular case. Now, I've got at least 3 separate cases, 1977, 1967. We also have a case in 1970 where people are reporting this circular dish-shaped saucer with a bubble transparency canopy on top and then 2 beings inside. This has been going on for at least 3 or 4 separate cases, all reporting the same type thing. Now, what kind of evidence do we have to back this up? Is there any sketches? Is there any drawings? Well, you know I did the legwork for you. Here's the original sketch from the report, and we'll go down here and we'll start at the top. Like this when I first saw it. So the backstory is, this young girl was waiting for her friend. She's inside. She goes out. Now, it was snowing. It was cold outside, but she was waiting for her friend. It was about 7:40 p.m. So she goes out and she can see the reflection of the snow of this strange craft that was kind of very brightly lit. As it got closer, she could see it was this circular shaped disc craft that had a bubble transparency canopy on top. There were 2 figures inside. It kind of rotated in her position and tipped down, and she could make out the formation of 2 figures inside. She ran back inside to talk to her, to get her sisters to go out and see it. They were not there at the time. She came back, it was still there, and she could see this thing fly away. But we'll start on the top here. Like this when I first saw it, very bright, when in white in color, top not clearly seen. Next one, first tipped down on left edge. I thought I could see 2 small figures through the glare. And then next, it turned around, so whoever was inside were facing me. I became frightened and ran into the house. It hovered like this. And we'll move on to the next sketch here. All right, again, December 8th, 1967, original sketch. First view, brightly lit white in color. Outline of bottom clearly defined, but top indistinct because of glare. Next one, first movement. Now you can see here it's tipping down, it rotated, and then off to the right here. Second movement, rotated clockwise as seen from bottom. And on this bottom section here, you can see where she was standing when she saw it. And then over here, first view estimated big as a car hovering near above house. So at least 3 to 4 cases of these dish-shaped craft with a bubble transparent canopy on it with these two figures. It's always two figures. It's very interesting. We'll keep moving on here now. All right, next one. This is a very interesting case. August 1962, Lake Mobile, Minnesota. Primary eyewitness was in a cabin when this first took place. So they're looking outside the window. She's actually combing her young daughter's hair at the time. That's the setup here. And she looks out this window and sees a 35-foot diameter dish-shaped craft that had these very interesting triangular windows with rounded corners. And then inside the craft, she could see the outline of 3 humanoid-looking beings. What happened next is she turned off the light in the camera inside the cabin.
I want to thank Michael Schratt for that incredible report, and I want to thank you from around the world for joining us tonight in this special episode of Third Phase of Moon. Again, we have our latest documentary, the follow-up to Countdown to Disclosure, the technology behind the Space Force. Now we have Above Top Secret, the technology behind disclosure. And it's premiering on all streaming services April 5th. 2022. It's not too far away, and you could pre-order right now. The link is in the description below. Take a look at the trailer, and everybody be safe. Keep your eyes on the skies. We'll see ya next time.
If the crash retrievals are true, then all bets are off.
It's very hard for people to get their minds around where the real power is. And it's not at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The reality is something much more stark.
They've been working on this for 60, 70, perhaps 80 years.
The reason why the government is talking about these UFOs now, they're getting ready for the next level of war.
Are these objects a national security concern?
They're proffering a narrative of a national security threat that doesn't exist.
I call them alien reproduction vehicles. They're made by private corporations somewhere on this planet.
Technology from Roswell from 1947 has largely been held back from us.
Portal technology, teleportation, whatever you can imagine, it's already been done.
The biggest secrets are not the zero-point energy and electrogravitics. It's the science of consciousness. All their communication systems are